think of it in terms of one reform that got left out. I mean, I think of 1991 as a really transformative moment where we started the process of getting rid of a highly dysfunctional system of controls. And at that time for us, the principal dysfunctionality was the control of investment by Indian companies, a very negative attitude towards large private Indian companies, and of course the control of foreign trade, which made the Indian economy insulated, uncompetitive, and so on. And I think 1991 was a breathtaking change in those areas. But we were very aware that we need to do a lot more. So it wasn't a question of what is the one thing. In fact, within a year, we spelled out that this change has to be accompanied by a change in the financial system, gradual opening up of non-FDI inflows coming from abroad, which was also linked to stock exchange reform, and so on. I guess the one area that we consciously delayed was labor reform. And that was not sort of leaving it out, but recognizing that it is politically a very sensitive area. I remember that many, many years later, when Montek Singh, on the 25th anniversary of the reform, was asked in Bombay in an event celebrating the first 25 years, that when are you going to do labor reforms? And even then, what he said is that, look, I recognize that labor reforms are necessary, but we should get the economy growing more rapidly. And when it's growing at 10%, we'll be able to do labor reforms. That's an important issue because, a lot of the restructuring meant loss of jobs in certain areas. Of course, it also involved creation of new jobs, and new jobs that are actually better than the ones that were lost. But net, we had not yet created an environment in which labor felt that organized labor employment was going to expand rapidly. And the political view was that, look, until you can do that, it's difficult to do labor reforms. But that was, of all the classical reforms that everybody was talking about, that was the one on which absolutely nothing was done. I guess even though we were always gradualist, we probably could have made a better start in that area to give a signal. You've got a huge list, so any identification of one reform would not be very credible. I mean, the world has changed so dramatically in terms of technology. And it's also changed dramatically in terms of geopolitics. And there's a new set of challenges, and that's climate change. So quite frankly, if you take a look at all of this, there's a whole list of things that we have to do. So I think this whole focus of one reform is wrong. We have a huge job to do. It's a tough job, and we need to have a bigger effort being made politically for people to understand, first of all, the complexity of the change, and for people to understand how do you build political support for it. Because a lot of this can become politically difficult to sell, so it's not easy.